Can't anyone just take a joke? You'll upset someone by saying anything. Oh, is it illegal to have an opinion? This generation is full of snowflakes. Why is everyone so sensitive these days? I pose that exact same question to anyone who has ever said these things. Why are you so sensitive? You wouldn't be talking about this if you didn't care. If it didn't upset you that much that someone called you out. Sit down, let's have a chat. Come here. I only bite on weekends. Now explain to me what's wrong. Why are you upset? You know what? I realized something. You can't talk. Okay, plan B. You listen to me yap for 10 minutes. Hi, I'm Dwayne. If you haven't noticed already, I am a pebble. Pebbles are formed through a process known as attrition, where rocks on the seabed bang each other and they chip, become smoother and rounder, and eventually wear away. Yes, you can make a sex joke here, but I'm not going to. This analogy will make more sense later. For now, let's go back to those questions I posed at the beginning. Why are people so sensitive these days? But not the woke kind of sensitive, the kind no one talks about. Why do so many people, mainly conservatives or older folks, but certainly others, not have a spine anymore? Because all they seem to do is complain, deflect, and project. Nothing is ever good enough for them. They never take initiative, they never care about the truth, they only want to be affirmed, and trying to have any conversation with pushback with them results in an argument or them ignoring you. And of course all the Trump supporters act this way. They're just cucked their dummy daddy Donald. I swear, nobody cared about DEI until he said something. At least it wasn't considered the root of all evil. As many of us know, these people act like this because they grew up in a different time. A different time when it was socially acceptable, if not encouraged, to punch down on marginalized people. During said time, I'd like to point out, you couldn't show, say, mixed-race couples on TV, talk about your own body, or mention that you were gay or disabled because it was considered indecent or wrong. That sounds kind of sensitive to me. And many people have held on to these convictions and still don't like to talk about gay people. Like, grow up. I'd like to think it was the general social acceptance that primed people into believing that bigoted behavior is acceptable, actually, and that the people they are punching down on can just get over themselves. Kind of rich coming from people who have never been punched down, is it not? Oh, but if you dare say anything that's not aligned with their beliefs, all hell breaks loose. This is called shielding yourself from criticism. What that does to you is inflate your ego and drastically warp your perception of reality. When the reality that marginalized people can stand up to you and be socially recognized catches up to you, you can't properly face it. Your entire worldview is challenged, which in turn reflects poorly on your character. You have to question your entire life, everything you've always known. At this point, you have two options: double down or give it all up. Most people choose to double down. As someone who chose to give it all up and reassess my positions, I can vouch that doubling down is in fact easier. To give some examples, just look at the responses to the Me Too movement and Black Lives Matter. Everyone lost their damn minds as soon as women or black people started protesting, rioting, and dominating the media cycle. As soon as any pushback to these people's beliefs was shoved in their faces, they could not sit with it, and they responded with non-stop bitching and moaning for the last 4 years. A good individual example is Dave Chappelle, who only makes trans jokes these days. He gets flamed for it, he claims he's being canceled, and he and his fans head to the trenches and fight anyone who has an opinion. It's a cycle. Mind you, his jokes aren't even funny.
So Caitlin, goddamn, if you go through with this thing, bitch, you better go hard or go home. Hustler style. Do you know what hustler style means, miss? That means spread the lips. Oh, she spreads her lips and there's a itty bitty dick inside. Ah!
People are just defending it because they like to be transphobic. As this video points out, the audience isn't really laughing at a lot of the jokes, but they're laughing at the mere fact that he's being offensive. It just got me thinking how easy it is to please bigots. All you have to do is hit the right buttons and you'll be adored by them. Just being offensive is a button. Another one is showing the American flag or other American imagery. Just look at the Super Bowl. Or you just have to repeat some nonsense that you've heard a million times, like everyone is so sensitive these days, or just say woke or DEI. They'll be your best friend. And it's so funny to me because it's always the same people that criticize how the younger generations are watching slop while they change the channel to their slop, which is usually just racist garbage or Fox News. The hypocrisy is kind of wild, but it's what you get with people. So why am I saying all of this? It's because this type of thinking is reactionary, meaning people are not thinking critically about what they're seeing, they're just reacting to it. Reactionary thinking has been dominating the media for the last several years. Social media makes us prone to it, I fear. All we need to do is see someone's take on Twitter and we may find ourselves agreeing in principle, and then we just parrot it regardless of its integrity. What do I mean? Saying everyone is so sensitive these days is not a very loaded statement. As I proved at the beginning of this video, everyone is sensitive, it just manifests in different ways. However, it is conveniently only the libs' sensitivity that is put on blast and then sent to the pillory. But conservatives, oh, when they're melting down at rainbow capitalism, they're not annoying and crying babies, they're not sensitive, they have a legit seat at the table. The double standard is crazy. My biggest issue comes when people misdirect their criticisms of sensitivity towards marginalized people trying to stop harassment. Like when Twitter, before Elon, was banning hate speech, everyone lost their damn minds. They told people to get over themselves, or they're just jokes. This is censorship of free speech. Hate speech fuels hate crimes. It normalizes the sentiment of targeting vulnerable people, and then not nice people take matters into their own hands. Oh, but yeah, people could just get over that, right? I mean, being murdered for being trans is totally fine. And I shouldn't have to say this, but it's the internet, so I do. You should know the damn difference between hate speech and edgy jokes. Edgy jokes are fine until you are just literally being bigoted. If you care, find the line. It's not that hard. People take this kind of thing way too seriously. They hear hate speech and immediately think, oh, we can't say anything these days. Now look who's being sensitive. You have your little slurs taken away from you and you can't cope? Grow up. You could also just laugh at other things. Not every punchline has to be a punch down. And what's worse, most marginalized people aren't even offended by edgy jokes. They simply don't find them funny. And that is enough to set off the anti-woke brigade and call everyone snowflakes. Why don't you grow a backbone and make jokes that are actually funny? Have you ever considered? This whole conversation is laughable, to be honest. No wonder why people are so sensitive these days. The call has been coming from inside the house the whole time. But the final part of this video will address where it all stems from. I've had my fun shitting on bigots, now I'll get serious. Bigotry is a tool that is used to divide us. It is a wedge issue, one that wedges in between progress and regress. Of course, it's an important wedge issue because of the people it disenfranchises. However, it is ridiculous to be going over the same issues that have been pressing for 160 years. Our society is worthy of ridicule for it. While bigots must be held accountable for their actions, there are always underlying reasons why they act the way they do. I'm sure you've heard the analogy where everyone is climbing up a mountain. People at the top are throwing mud down to make everyone slip, and everyone climbing doesn't work together. They fight each other, only to be a little bit higher than someone else. That really is the underlying truth. People want to feel better about themselves. They want to feel protected by society. They want to enjoy themselves. Some people do just love to hate, and they suck, but most people know what's right somewhere inside them, but just don't acknowledge it, or they just choose to live in a world of hypocrisy, because who cares? Many lack education and live life in their own heads. Some are truly unaware and only need to be made aware in order to change. I'm on the fence about those excuses, really. I believe they are reasons and not excuses. Information is at your fingertips. Time is of course an issue, and not everyone has time to educate themselves on civil rights or civic activism. But I'm not talking about people in abject poverty working 12 or more hours a day, raising a family, etc. Those are the people we privileged folk are fighting on behalf of. I'm talking about your regular old Samaritan, someone that just watches TikTok all day and parrots what everyone else says. They don't really have any strongly held convictions. They don't really know a lot of what they're talking about. They just kind of react to things, and then that reaction turns into, why is everyone so sensitive these days? Or it turns into this distrust of the younger generation, whatever that means. But all of that being said, I will go back to that analogy from the beginning. Pebbles. Attrition. We are all pebbles at the end of the day, banging against each other, chipping each other away bit by bit. Those that have been hit the most become smoother, but continue the cycle. It's all they know. The ones that break down and wither away end up doing less damage because they're split into many smaller parts. Don't stay big and smooth. Don't chip away other pebbles. Actually, you can chip away some pebbles, like the bigots I was talking about in this video. You can have a little fun. But at the end of the day, get out of the river. Does that make sense?